Hi and welcome back to our series addressing the 3 mistakes that corporate women make that leave them feeling overwhelmed and as if they're failing. Today we're going to address mistake number 2, failing to set appropriate expectations.
And remember, if you haven't had a chance to take a look at video 1, then there's some very good information on it and some valuable downloads you can take away. So when you fail to set appropriate expectations, one problem can be that there's a lack of alignment. And that can be with your team members, stakeholders, anybody you're dealing with that you've given this task to. And this means that despite all their best energy and efforts, they tend to go in the wrong direction, the work doesn't get done properly, and they tend to become away fatigued and tired. And you may be fatigued and tired and frustrated by what's happening. So the first thing we have for you is a model we call PORT. So what does PORT stand for? It stands for purpose, output, resources, and time. So when you give a task, you just give those 4 aspects clearly. Now it's not SMART. Many of you may have heard of SMART, which stands for specific, measurable, agreed, realistic, time-bound. That's the description of a goal, and that can be useful, but we're talking about task assignment, which is more useful and more important to get right. It's very important to use this model because we all speak different languages effectively because we have different personalities, and different personalities require task assignment done in different ways. But here is a model that works for every personality style. That's what makes it so useful and important. The key thing is to remember purpose. That is why. Now this model is extremely powerful and can be used for the most complex task assignment down to the very simplest. In fact, it links directly with good project management. Now what I'd like to do is give you a simple example of it. I know it's a bit boring, but a simple example so you can understand it more clearly. So I'm going to use the example of you having to present to an important group of people, might be a group of clients or senior managers, and you have this critical photocopying you need done beforehand for this meeting. And you're going to use the receptionist who does the photocopying in the organization. So let's call the receptionist Alex. So you go to Alex and first give the purpose. Alex, I would like you to do this photocopying and prepare some materials in order to make sure a presentation to some key clients is successful that I'm conducting later. Next would be output. And that would be something like, I need 500 copies of this photocopying and they need to be at 600 dpi or high resolution. Then there would be resources. And you only mention here resources that are not normally in their authority. So it might be, and Alex, you can use the specialist EGM photocopier that's on the top floor. And last but not least, time. And here you'd say, when you want it by, 2 p.m. It's that simple, but surprisingly powerful. And sometimes people say, I haven't got time to give a PORT. I'd argue you haven't got time not to give a PORT because otherwise you'll be spending a huge amount of extra time trying to get them realigned and getting them to redo all the work that you really wanted them to do. So go and give it a try, see how it goes.
PORT is a really good model for handling the intellectual side of failing to set appropriate expectations. And there's also an emotional component to overwhelm and feeling like we're failing at times. And unless we learn to manage the emotional component of being human, we can often find ourselves spiraling down to a place that becomes very hard for us to turn that emotional turmoil around. So learning to actually notice our thoughts and spiral back up is really, really powerful. So I'm sure you find yourself occasionally in situations of overwhelm. And these situations can generate some pretty negative thoughts. It's important to know that our mind generates tens of thousands of unconscious thoughts every day. We can't hear them, they're just chatting away, and unfortunately many of them are negative thoughts. And they take us habitually down this path. Something negative happens, we start to feel distracted. We can have a lack of confidence from that. We're not quite sure why things are going wrong. We even start to think there might be something wrong with us. We start to feel unworthy, and we can even feel like a failure. So how are we going to turn this around? One of the only ways to deal with the feeling of failure is to accept it. And in that acceptance, we can start on a positive journey back up this spiral. So once you arrive at this place of acceptance, it's much easier to take on the learnings from that negative experience that you've just had. You'll then start to feel clarity, confidence, optimism, and even enthusiasm. So how can you stay at this place of enthusiasm and optimism in your life? So what we have for you today is called the self-appreciation process. And this process enables you to proactively stay here in enthusiasm, optimism, confidence, feel you've got some purpose and clarity in your life. This appreciation process enables you to appreciate the things about yourself that are positive, that are good, that are unique to you as a human being, and that will ultimately keep you residing up here in your life instead of habitually falling down into this path of failure. So I really encourage you to try that process. It'll make a big difference in your life. It's very simple and very powerful.
So there it is. We've provided you with 2 quick, simple and surprisingly effective tools. Just give them a go and you'll see how good they are, and you can get them by clicking below.
So we look forward to you tuning in next time, where we're going to address mistake number 3. We'll see you soon.